Hello and welcome to Good News, Covenant County. Boy, I'll tell you, we picked a beautiful day to do this, and we're still having sun issues over here, but with that early fall sun coming up. But we're so proud to have this gentleman in our studios today. It is our friend Jackie Woods. I can't call you officer. I mean, I can. Officer Jackie Woods of the Andalusia Police Department. He is the SRO officer. It's school resource officer for the city schools in Andalusia. Jackie, thank you so much for coming on.
I'm glad to have you.
Boy, we go way back. I remember when you first got here, and we used to come out and chase all the calls and everything, because back then gas was a lot cheaper, and you know, we don't chase a lot of them calls anymore. but you know, there's a lot of drugs on the street. You were one of the best discoverers of narcotics and vehicles and illegal paraphernalia that I ran into. And your partner at the time, well, he wasn't your partner, he also rode with you, he's since passed away. What was his name? Gosh, I can't think of his name. Great guy too, but
yeah, I think about his name in the middle.
yeah, he was with the Andalusia Police Department. He left and went to another department, then later passed.
Right.
And great guy as well. But we're here to talk about school resource officer, what you do out there. First, let me tell you, I've done some research on you. I did. And you know where you go to find out about somebody is where they work and who they affect.
Right.
All right. And I talked to a couple of teachers and a couple of the schools. I talked to a lot of students. They have the utmost respect for you doing your job. And they say they can always count on you, that you're very, you know, personable, you get along well with everybody, and you try to always help people.
Right.
And with the situations the way they are today, Jackie, it's hard to do that. Just day before yesterday, another school shooting.
Yeah, I heard.
And, you know, and this was a 9-year-old child, you know. We'll talk a little bit more about that as it goes along, but you've got a heck of a responsibility. And if you don't mind, tell us what your average day's like. I mean, just start out. You get up in the morning, you get dressed, okay, and you go do what?
Well, the first thing I do is go do school traffic. You know, I sit out there for 15 to 20 to 30 minutes, directing traffic, make sure the traffic is going smooth out there, and people is getting out of 6 MLK. Make sure that parents dropping off kids can get out safely right there at the intersection. They can get congested if no one's there, and a lot of them got to get to work. So I get there and I direct that traffic to get them on out.
That's over by the middle school.
Yes, right from the hooks.
Now, soon you're not going to have that problem no more, because the middle school is going to be over at the high school.
Right.
And that's another thing. That's going to make I just thought about that. Your job's going to be a little easier now. You can cover 2 schools and be in one location.
You're right.
So that's going to help out.
Yeah, it will, but it's gonna. I may probably miss directing that traffic, because when I got out there, you know, 2 years ago, Captain Bowling told me that he wanted me to do it, and I started doing it. And actually, I enjoyed doing it just by seeing different people I haven't seen in years come by and wave.
I blow the horn at you and wave at you when I go by.
I actually enjoyed those 2 years of doing it. So it's gonna be missed.
You're doing a great job out there, and we appreciate it. But most importantly, your job is about the kids and the safety of that school. We've got one resource officer for currently 3 schools in the city. In the elementary school, which is out there on South, what is that, 29 South, or the bypass?
West bypass.
And then you've got the Andalusia High School, which is right here in the heart of the city. And then you got middle school, which is just north, which will be convergence shortly, according to Teddy. Teddy's a good guy, by the way. Has he sung Danny Boy for you yet?
Who's that now?
Ted Watson. Yeah.
Oh, I call him Coach. I call him Coach. So.
Coach. Yeah. See, you know him as a coach.
Yeah. He was my football coach in high school.
Yeah. Was he as funny back then? Okay.
Yeah.
He hasn't changed.
Ain't nothing changed.
Hey, he's a big guy. Gosh. And he can sing.
Yeah.
I mean, that boy will rip your eyes out. Not physically, but with music, he can really hit them notes. But anyway, back to you. The safety of the kids. All right. What is your primary objective when you go into a school and you're doing one of the schools here? I mean, you got all three, but when you're in the school, what's your primary objective?
Well, the main thing is safety. I like to see the school as safe at all times. Sometimes it's hard to say that, and like things are happening now, but the only way to prevent it is to basically keep all the doors locked and walk around the school most of the day, walking around, looking in the classrooms and making things, everything is okay, and walking around outside just to make sure no one's walking on campus that shouldn't be there. But we haven't had any problems with it so far. That's why I want to keep it. But.
Yeah, well, yeah, we all want that.
Right.
And but you know, with today's issues that are coming up, we're so blessed that we have a community that we do that, you know, the whisper of any problems, you're not only are you going to have Jackie Woods to contend with, you're going to have every agency and every officer, right, you know, within 50 miles of here, you know, here to take care of business. And we saw that in the Midland incident with little Ethan that was kidnapped off the bus. Tragic situation there. Why do you think our kids are being attacked?
Well, a lot of it is it's a standout from bullying. A lot of it, you know, we do have that in the schools. A lot of kids don't understand what bullying is. But
I'm glad you're bringing this up.
It's a big problem in the schools with bullying. I do a thing every year, me and Mr. Lindsay, which I come in and I talk to the kids about bullying and to show them a different way to look at bullying. But bullying, it plays a big part in a lot of things that's going on in the schools with the kids. That's cyberbullying and everything else to go with it.
We just had something happen that was unheard of just last week, where this child was bullied, committed suicide, and then the girl that was bullying him went on Facebook or a social page and said, "I don't care, you know, he deserved what he got." And I'm like, right, where do these kids get this? Where does that come from?
I couldn't tell you but that part of it, but I can say this. You know, I don't know how the other school resource officers in the county is or in the United States, but I know this, I am active with the kids here in Andalusia. You know, I'm there with them and I talk to them. I see one having a problem, I put them off to the side and talk to them. You know, a lot of them need somebody they can talk to. So that's part of my job too. You know, I'm there for security. I'm also there to counsel kids if they need somebody to talk to be able to talk to them. I think that's the kind of relationship you got to have with these kids. And I always wanted to work with kids and had the opportunity, and so far I love it. You know, I have a good relationship with the kids.
A lot of people talk at kids.
Yeah, right.
You got what I just said.
You got to drop down to their level.
You got to come down. You got to be real with them, and then you got to shut this off and put this on. And if you start listening to our kids, a lot of these situations would be handled. Mm-hmm. And it can start at home, it can start, you know, at church, wherever it is. Right. There's so many places and so many things that children have a way of, you know, a kid's having a problem. You're around them every day. A parent's around them every day. I don't buy, hey, I go to work every day, I don't know what my kids do. You know what your kids do when you're around them at home, because unless you're gone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're going to see something change within that child. And that's, instead of ignoring it, we need to stand up and say, son, daughter, what's happening? Talk to me. Talk to dad. Okay? And listen. All right? And then be supportive. Don't be condemning of the child. Boy, I can go on, I'll get in trouble. Boy, I'll tell you. I know you can't say a lot, but I don't mind opening my mouth up a little bit. But to me, the child's behavior begins at home. Mm-hmm. All right? It's not in the school system. In the school system, there's peer pressure. There's education levels that they're trying to get to. There's pressure on them to get the learning of what they're there for. And then there's, you know, the responsibility of doing their things every day. And then they come home and you got to have support. Now, I'm going to shut up in a minute and let you talk, but I love kids.
Yeah, I love them.
And Miracle League, man. Woo, man, I love that. I'm out there on Tuesday nights, buddy. I'm loving every second of it. But these kids have to be heard. And you have to take the time. And it's cool to know that they have somebody at the school called Jackie Woods to come up to. And I heard several kids now. I was at the courtroom yesterday covering a case, and there were some kids from Andalusia High School there going through, watching, the cases. And we were outside talking during one of the breaks, and a couple of them came up. Hey, I see you on TV and all that. I said, yeah. And who are you going to have on? Who are you going to have on? I said, I'm going to have Jackie Woods on tomorrow. And they said, oh, man, he's cool, And they like you, they respect you, and it's an opportunity for the kids to respect law enforcement, and you're doing a good job.
I appreciate it, Eddie. I try to do the best I can with the support of the Andalusia Police Department and Chief. It helps out a lot that you got that support from the ones that's over you. Well,
Chief Wilbur told me about this program years ago, and you've got Mike up there now as captain, and there's been some changes up there, but the one thing they've kept solid, they may have made some changes in other areas, but the SRO program is still there. Do we still have a, what was that called? Dare to be, or Dare?
Dare officer?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know if we have one or not.
Is that separate from you?
Yes, it's a separate job there. They just teach strictly Dare.
I heard funds were cut back on that, that were grants, and so I don't know what's going on with it locally.
It's totally different from a school resource officer.
But, all right. Now, these schools, the parents are going to sit there, and I know you want to talk about, some of the things that are good, and the kumbaya stuff is what I call it, okay? But I respect that. The bullying is an issue, all right? It has become an issue because of Facebook. It's become an issue because of cellular texting. All right, are kids allowed to have text? No.
They can't have cell phones on them. They have to be locked up in their lockers and turned off.
Okay, but teachers are allowed to have them.
I think they can have them in this class as long as they don't have it on and be using that time of teaching.
Well, the reason I bring that up is that app.
It's a great app.
It's a great app, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the next segment. But so they can't use the cell phones. They can't be doing this in class.
No.
I read a story today where the state legislatures passed a bill to allow $100 million or something like that to purchase laptops and tablets for all the kids in schools. Okay, I think that's going to be a problem.
It could be.
They're saying,
nobody's monitoring. It could be.
Well, you got to have internet obviously to get those. Get on the internet, but these kids are smart.
Yeah.
All right, I've seen them do things. Whenever I have a problem with my phone, okay, or with my computer, I call a kid.
They figure it out.
They figure it out in no time at all, and it's cheaper than calling it.
That's right.
But they're going to figure that stuff out. So I'm kind of not balanced on that. Okay, the kids have laptops and computers in schools now, but they're in a lab environment.
That's right.
But to have one to tote around to each classroom and be assigned, okay, that kind of raises some questions. What do you think about that?
Well, the laptop, ever since I've been there, they've been able to carry laptops to classes. That was nothing new. I think it was part of their assignment of some of the classes. If they had a laptop, they can use theirs or use the one they have in the classroom. A lot of them had their own. I don't see it too much of now. When I first started over there, they did. They had that opportunity to bring the laptops to school and do work.
So are they allowed to bring pads and stuff like that in, or?
I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure about the pads. I know they did with the laptops at one time. I don't know if they stopped it or not. So I don't see it as much as I used to see it. But when I first started, they was able to take it to class and do classwork with it.
Well, technology, okay.
Yeah, changing.
Well, just to let you know that what I read this morning was the textbooks, okay, they're good for 7 years. All right. Technology, as quick as it's going by, is only good for a year, if that. So you may have a nice, beautiful tablet today, and tomorrow it may be one of these.
Oh, they have those out.
Boy, where am I at? No way.
They have them out.
They got the Dick Tracy's out?
Yeah.
And look at that. Well, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to touch a little bit more on bullying, okay, because that is a serious problem in the community right now, even here in this community. But my grandson was a subject of bullying here just recently. And I want to tell you, nothing will get Pawpaw's hair stirred up in the back when he hears that, because my kids, when they were raised, they were bullied as well. And we'll talk about that, how nasty some of this stuff gets, and how physical it gets, and how degrading it gets, and how important it is, not for the school, but for the family structure to support that child. Not, not just throw them out to the street, because they have to have that. They have to have the people there to, they have to have their support group. Jackie, thank you for coming. We're going to take a quick break. I promise I'm going to let him talk more. But we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that's kids. And, these kids have to have opportunities. And his job is law enforcement, but as you've heard, it's not just that. It's catering to the kids' needs and safety as well. So we appreciate you coming on. We'll be right back with more. Remember, keep it real, keep God in it. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back once again to Good News Covenant County. We have with us our friend Jackie Woods, Andalusia Police Department, our SRO officer as well, school resource officer for the city of Andalusia. Jackie, once again, thank you for coming in, talking about bullying, talking about schools, what's going on in the schools and the support for the kids, and what your position is there. And I got to touch back on bullying. I'm going to give you what happened to my daughter and my son back in middle school. And this is in Florida, okay? They had to ride a bus. And because my kids were always taught not to fight, not to get into, and to ignore, and, leave kids alone that were not behaving, and separate themselves from the clique groups, okay? Because that usually leads to group bullying. But anyway, that's what they did. Well, my daughter came home from school one day, and she was crying. And my son was crying, because they used to ride the bus together. And I said, what happened? Back then I was on the fire department, so I'd be off for 2 days and stuff. And usually I'd go down to the bus stop on occasion and pick them up. But a lot of times I didn't, because I was trying to do things around the house. I was a parent. I was a dad, and also responsible for the house. So she turned around, and her whole back was wet. I said, who threw water on you? Nobody. I said, how'd you get wet? They were spitting on me. Let me tell you something, okay? It did not take long for this fuse to go, okay? And back then, Dad had a lot different temper than what he does now. Right. Well, I sat there and I said, okay, who done it? And they told me. I said, all right. Well, a lot of the parents would wait at the school bus stop. And it just so happened that these parents for this kid were at the bus stop. So I told my son and daughter, I said, you go ahead and ride that bus home tomorrow. I said, you don't worry about a thing. I said, your dad will be there. You may not see him, but he'll be there. Okay, and we had woods. We lived out in the boondocks. And sure enough, I got out there and I stepped off the side of the road. We lived on a dirt road. And I stepped off into, the brush. And about 100 yards from the bus stop, parents all showed up. Bus comes up, backs in, because they had to back into our road to turn out and go out, and the kids get off. Well, sure enough, this one kid, right on the back of my son. And I watched the mother of that child say, stop, don't do that. And the kid just kept on following my daughter down the road while the mother stood on the corner.
What?
Okay. Folks, I'm telling you where it begins. I witnessed it with my own eyes, okay? I jumped out of the woods, bushes, okay? I guess that sounds bad. and I yelled at the kid, "Stop! What the heck are you doing?" The mother says, "Don't you yell at my child. You have no right." I walked over to the lady and I said, "Let me tell you something. What time's your husband come home?" "He gets home about 6 o'clock. I said, "Well, I'll give you a message to give to him." She says, "What?" I said, "When I get done stomping him, okay, you can tell him that I did it, okay, because of what just happened, okay, because I'm not supposed to talk to your child. But you can explain to him why I done what I did, because I'm not. I'm just going to do it." Oh, man. I set the woods on fire with that one, okay? Well, it quit for a while. And I'm going into this for a reason. This happens today,
Right.
okay? You know it. You've seen it with your own eyes, all right? It went on for about a week. They left my kids alone. Then it started up again. Well, I told my son, because my son wants to be the boy, okay? I always told him, don't fight. Well, I went up to the school bus stop, and I'm waiting, just staying away from the parents because I don't want to have a confrontation. And I said to my son that morning when he left, he says, "Dad, they're picking on Angie and me again. They're not spitting, but they're, slapping us and picking on us and flicking our ears and, doing all this stuff and calling us names." I said, "Okay." I said, "Son, here's what I want you to do." I know this is wrong, okay? I'm just saying before, the disclaimer here. I know this is wrong, but I had my fill of it. And I said, "Son," I said, "I don't care if you get your tail whooped, okay?" I said, "But when you get off that bus, if they're picking on you," I said, "you better be all over that boy." He was that big. My son was this big, okay? I said, "I don't care what you have to do." I said, "But you get on him." "Really, Dad?" Because he's really been wanting to do this, but he's held back, right? So I'm standing at the bus stop, the bus pulls it, backs up, and the first thing I see is my son's backpack go flying across out of the door of the bus and hitting the ground. And next thing I see is a ball of 2 kids rolling out the door, and my son is sitting there just wailing away on this big kid, not hurting him because my kid's smaller, but it was my son defending himself.
Right.
Okay. And I sat there and I went up and I broke it up. And the parents sat there, "Oh, your boy's picking on my son." I go, "Lady, you tell your husband." And you know the story on that.
Right.
Never again did those kids ever have a problem. They stood up for themselves. But there's a parent that stood behind them. I'm not encouraging fighting.
Right.
Okay, but there's a point where a child has to have dignity. And that's where kids lose it. Self-esteem is lost in our schools. I'm going on a rant, aren't I?
I'm just listening to you. But I can say this about our school system. We don't see a whole lot of that type of bullying. Every once in a while you'll hear a child say, "I slap you," this and that. And a lot of it is playing. See, a lot of the kids in our schools, all of them is kin anyway. So a lot of them get along together. But I have had to go in, every once in a while, like I said, they'll fall apart from each other. But then it don't take nothing but to bring them in, talk to them, and they right back together. I normally talk to the kids every year about bullying. Just gave them some of the examples when I was a kid going through school and some of the things that I went through. And I also showed them the lost perspective of it, which is harassment.
Right.
I show it to them and I let them know, you can go to jail just like any adult can go to jail. You go through a different system, but you can go to jail as well. And it pays off, especially as being there with them. Even, like I said earlier, you see a kid walk down the hall and they look different, doing something that they normally don't do, something is wrong with that kid.
Or they come home and they're not doing
That's right.
something as they regularly do. Mom, Dad, step up and say, "Hey,
That's
honey,
right.
what's wrong?" Listen. You got to listen. You got to see. You got to listen.
That's mostly part of my day too. That's standing in the halls and seeing the kids walk by. I may stop one. "Hey, what's going on?" If something bothers them, I sit there and I talk to them. Find out what's going on. If it's having a problem with another kid, if I'm at the middle school, I go to Miss Anderson, let her know this was going on. And we call them in. We set both of them down. We talk to them. They're perfectly fine afterwards. that's kind of relationship you got to have with the kids, you know. And like she have a great relationship with those kids at the middle school.
Well, you do as well, and you are the middle person at these schools that I'm proud to have out there. Your heart is with the kids,
Right.
And there's no doubt in my mind if anything were to happen, you'd be right there protecting those kids. And with today's craziness going on, we're blessed to be in Andalusia, Alabama, and that's why I brought my kids here. It was shortly after that incident that we moved to Alabama, because we couldn't. Schools like that just aren't right, you know, and not schools, but parents and kids. I can't blame it on the school. But anyhow, this app that we're talking about earlier, it's Live Safe. We've demonstrated it here several times. You and Detective Curry kind of tested this system out for a long time, and it's an app that you get on your phone, and it's great for situations such as bullying. It's even got a thing on there for bullying, I believe, and a child can sit there and hit it, and within 2 seconds, okay, the exact location where that child's at, within 3 meters or something like that. 2 seconds, it's sitting at Andalusia PD dispatch, and one of the dispatchers gets a boop up on the screen, and it's there, and they look at it. They can record, they can take pictures, they can do voice recording, text, anything they have to do to get the message to the PD, but it's there. And within 2 seconds, we're not talking about 2 minutes, we're talking 2 seconds. You don't have to push any buttons to hit one for, or 0 for operator, or go through any system at all. It's there. Then the dispatcher can immediately dispatch the necessary, needs out to wherever that child is. Great for the teachers, because we do have an unfortunate situation of somebody being stupid, okay? That teacher can grab that phone without having to go out of the room, okay, and text or voice, record, take a picture of the perpetrator, whatever, okay? And a picture is worth 1,000 words, okay? And if you get the picture, you get the video, 2 seconds, it's up there at dispatch. Within, I'd say, less than 15 seconds, you're going to be notified.
Right.
Okay? And they're going to say, Officer Woods, boom, 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 this is going on, and you can be there. So, it's live Live Safe. I don't know why I want to call it. It's free on Google Play. You can download it, and it's got lots of features on it. We'll have Detective Curry on here soon to go back over that. Want to talk about one more event that's going on at the schools with you, and you call it Red
Ribbon Week.
Okay, tell us about that.
Every year, every school system have Red Ribbon Week, which it's a drug awareness week. It's a try to keep kids away from drugs. Past 8 years now since I've been at the school, I've been working with Mr. Lindsay with that whole week, just talking to kids about alcohol and drugs and how to stay away from it. But the last day of that, which is always on a Friday, I have one of our K9 units up there, and I normally it's the drug task force will come in, but I have our Lieutenant Paul Dean coming this year to talk to the kids about drugs,
very
consequences,
well experienced.
Consequences behind it, things like that, just to show the kids, you got to be aware of these drugs, because a lot of it is going on. A lot of kids is trying these drugs. It's a lot of them in Andalusia that
we don't hear about.
Don't know about.
Right.
But that's what it's about. Just making the kids aware of what's going on.
It used to be the ritual here during homecoming and things like that for parents to have house parties. And it was okay for Jimmy or Sally to go to these house parties. Are you seeing a decrease in house parties now, or because that's where a lot of the alcohol and drugs come in?
Well, just working at the school, I don't do a lot of patrol during the school times of the year, but I don't hear the other guys talking about parties going on. Now, when I was on patrol before I got into school, we had parties around town a lot.
Right.
But
So they're
now,
dying down.
Yeah, they're dying down. I don't really hear a whole lot about it now.
It's a good thing they are.
It is. That's a good thing. Now, rolling yards is something different.
Well,
We have that.
I have my opinion on that too.
But the parties, I haven't heard a whole lot about parties,
No.
kids' parties now in Lucia.
Well, the safety of our kids, we've had the chief on here, we've had the sheriff on here, we've had McDonald on here, Chief McDonald as well, and different people on. The safety of the kids has been very hard looked at over the past year, okay? And there's been a lot of training going on. Don't want to talk about it, don't want to sit there and say, you know, what's going on. But you guys are prepared to protect these kids.
Right.
And, you know, don't let nobody even think twice because you guys got it handled. And we're proud of that. And we're proud of the training that you have gone through in our local law enforcement. All the agencies have gone through. I believe it's required now by the state. And I'm calling about the talking about the active shooter program. We were part of that training here a while back. And good stuff. Jackie, you're doing a fantastic. You know, when you hear from the teachers, when you hear from Teddy Watson, when you hear from you know, the other officers in the community about Jackie Woods, they all smile and say he's the right man for the right job. You know, and you are, and we're proud to have you.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for what you do. Folks, Jackie Woods, he's the guy that's going to protect our kids over there, or does protect our kids, and he also listens to them. If you have any questions, if you're concerned about something, and you know Jackie's over at the school or whatever, I'm sure you won't mind talking to the parents.
I have no problem.
Because he's very involved. You got children of your own.
That's right.
Oh, boy, they ain't kids no more, man. Are they playing football yet?
Yeah, I have two playing.
Wow. My grandson just started this year. So he's in that, what is that called? Tiny mites or whatever it is. You know, going
Yeah,
through.
remember those days?
Yeah, he runs through the line like this with his arms straight out. Good stuff. Jackie, thank you. Thank Andalusia Police Department for having the concern and the forwardness thinking to have an SRO officer with tight budgets the way they are today, with the economy the way it is. It's very important to have this system in place. Do I think Jackie could use another 2-3 guys out in the field? I bet. I agree. Yeah. You know, we should have an SRO officer at every corner of the school right now, in my opinion. But we can't do it. Jackie has all that responsibility on his own shoulders. And thanks for the chief and the city for providing those services. Folks, Jackie, appreciate you, man. Really do. Good job. Good job. And I miss you on the road. I do, because, man, 1077, I'll be right there, man. You found a lot of buds, and they weren't beers.
Yeah.
But anyway, folks, Jackie Woods, Andalusia PD, SRO, School Resource Officer. Thanks for watching. Keep it real. Keep God in it.